So what's the big idea number one? It's to eat like a human being. And one of the most important aspects of the human physiology is very simple. Our stomachs, when we begin to see food, smell food, and begin to chew our food, those stomachs of ours begin to release hydrochloric acid. And we make a lot of hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid only has two purposes: to disinfect the food that we're eating in case there's bacteria in it, and to break down protein. Where are we getting this protein? From the animals that we're hunting. So our first instinct of digestion is to break down animal protein. This tells us we're designed perfectly to be hunters and gatherers. The gathering happens when we don't happen to have an animal that we've brought down that day or that week. So we eat other stores of things that we can gather as we walk to the hunt or as we wait for the hunt to be brought back to us. But our primary instinct is to digest protein. Now, herbivores and animals that graze, their stomachs don't work that way, and they have what are called ruminants, and they have multiple chambers in their stomach. And these chambers are designed to produce a lot of cellulase and other enzymes and some acids, so that the grasses they eat can move around and ferment in there over a long period of time. And it can take cows and sheep and cattle and horses a long time to digest the weeds and the grasses and the hay that they eat. That food is fermenting in the multiple chambers of their stomachs. They're completely designed differently than we are. Humans want to burn fat for fuel. And where do we predominantly get that fat? From an organic, wild, free-ranging, pasture-fed animal. Humans have always collected the fats from the animals that we hunted. It would be very, very precious to us, as well as the organs of the animals, which we don't eat so much in our culture, but they're very rich in fats and vitamins. And we'd make broth from the bones so that we wouldn't waste any of the minerals. Human beings have the capacity to make all the carbohydrate we need. Let's say that again. Human beings have the capacity to make all the carbohydrates we need. And this is a complicated process in the liver, which goes on automatically. For example, feeding us while we're asleep. Now, if we're an athlete, or we're running by being chased by a tiger, if we're in a sprint or some kind of an endurance athletic event, we need higher doses of carbohydrate to keep us going then. And we'll talk a little bit later about how athletes might need some higher doses of carbohydrates at certain times. But for the rest of us, the vegetable family and some fruits and nuts and avocados really provide us with all the carbohydrates that we need. We don't need the grains to survive. And think about the Eskimos and other peoples that live very far to the north or south. They don't have a lot of fruits and vegetables. They exist almost exclusively on proteins and fats. Now, when we try to live much more on glucose, we get stuck in a glucose, insulin, blood sugar cycle. And it's very uncomfortable to us. It's also the cause of most of the inflammatory processes in our body, and therefore most of the cause of most of our illnesses. But the blood sugar cycling that humans experience can cause a lot of problems with sleep and our ability to think and function clearly. All of us know about that 3 o'clock in the afternoon crash. You know what I'm talking about, that blood sugar crash around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when you hate your job, you hate your boss, you hate yourself, and all you want is a cookie and a Coke. Am I right? Yep, I'm right. And I hear this from clients all the time. Interestingly, there's a little bit of a corollary to that. When I ask people about their sleep, people often say, yeah, and you know, I wake up around 3 o'clock in the morning. The truth is that humans have a blood sugar shift that occurs around 3 o'clock in the afternoon and 3 o'clock in the morning. And when we are not properly fueled with the protein and fat that we need, we will tend to have that crash and burn at 3 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon. And we're going to help you with the diet for human beings so that you don't have that crash and burn anymore. You're going to be a lot more efficient and productive at your work, and you're going to be a lot happier, and you're going to be a lot more fun for yourself to be around, much less other people too.